got everything that we needed covered. Um, uh, Jeff is right that this year in Olympia, at the state level, the initiatives have been kind of the defining thing. And to recap them a little bit, there was a group of 6 initially that qualified. You'll remember that from last year that were out gathering signatures. They all 6 qualified. 3 of them, the legislature passed into law in Olympia during the last session. I mentioned when I introduced Daniel that Initiative 2113 that restored police pursuits, criminals and criminal suspects. That's one of the ones that passed into law. Another one was the Parents' Bill of Rights, the Washington Parents' Bill of Rights, yes. Now that one's had a little bit of a rocky courtroom road. The ACLU has filed a series of lawsuits challenging the Parents' Bill of Rights. We have mostly won those lawsuits. They're still ongoing. So the ACLU and a group of very left-wing organizations that they're representing are challenging the Parents' Bill of Rights. But the bulk of it has remained in force in law. So, and that's good for everyone. The focus of that Parents' Bill of Rights, of course, is notification. It's that parents and grandparents, if they're custodial, can't be kept in the dark. They have to be informed of what their minor children are experiencing, primarily at school, but in some cases in the medical environment. So that's a good thing. It's informational, and it's very hard, even for the ACLU, to effectively argue against giving parents and grandparents information about their kids. The third that passed into law during the last legislative session was Initiative 2111, which clarifies the existing tradition of this state, that in Washington state, there will be no state income tax. And a lot of people said, well, why is that even necessary? Isn't that the law? No, actually, the law was a little murky on that. And the initiative, now law, cleared it up, that there will be no tax based on personal income in the state of Washington. So those 3 passed into law. The other 3 from that original set of 6, the legislature ignored. The Speaker of the House in Olympia ignored them. And they go to you, the voters, this November on your general election ballot. And those 3 are Initiative 2117, which repeals the cap and trade tax scheme. That always gets some applause. It'll take pressure off the price of gas and diesel and groceries and all kinds of things. The other one is Initiative 2109, which repeals the controversial state capital gains excise tax. And that one will be on your ballot, just like Jeff said, at the top of the ballot in November. And then the third one from that original set of 6 is Initiative 2124. It doesn't repeal, but it makes opt-out, makes optional the payroll tax that funds the long-term care benefit program run by the state of Washington. It's a great idea. It's not a very well executed one. That program is insolvent already, and we think it needs to be reformed, and opting out will help put pressure on it to fix itself or to go away entirely. And then, as Jeff mentioned, there's actually going to be a 4th initiative on the ballot this November. That one was not in the original set of 6. That one just qualified this week to be on the ballot. And that's the one that restores natural gas as an option for energy in the state of Washington. And that one, it's just amazing to see how non-political support for that natural gas initiative. I mean, everyone basically supports it. Republican, Democrat, left, right, middle, all the demographic breakdowns, all the genders, everything. Everybody supports restoring natural gas. And it's been very edifying to see, again, to something Daniel said, that the dirty politics that's around so much wasn't really part of that. That project was very non-political for a political initiative. So that one will be on your initiative, on your ballot in November too. And those 4 initiatives, they will be the top of the ballot. So when you hear people say it's going to be Trump and Biden at the top of the ballot, that's not right in Washington. The initiatives will be at the top of the ballot, and we hope that when people vote for common sense for those four initiatives, when they vote yes to pay less, they will vote common sense all the way down the ballot. And that's a good thing. And that brings me to Joe Kent. His race, of course, will be on the ballot. And what we have in Joe's race for Congress is the ability to really right something that's gone wrong from this part of the state. The current occupant, the current Congress member representing the 3rd Congressional District from Washington, really is lost. She doesn't really know what she believes. She tries to cast herself as a moderate voice, but has taken some extreme left-wing votes in Washington, D.C. And in some ways, I sort of feel for her because she is not a great fit for this part of our state. She is a round peg trying to fit in a square hole. And I think we've seen that in some of the rhetoric, some of the campaigning that she's done. She just doesn't fit this area very well. Now, she can wear Carhartts and try to act like a sort of working Jane, but you can see that that's not really who she is. What we need representing us in Washington, D.C. is somebody who speaks plainly and tells the truth. And there is so much that Joe Kent knows that will allow him to be an incredibly effective voice for us in D.C. Jeff Wilson mentioned a moment ago that immigration remains a major problem in our country. And that is a direct result of the Biden administration's intentional failure to enforce immigration law. And Joe has already staked out ways to improve that intentional failure. And then Joe is uniquely experienced to talk about war and peace and the risks that we face with this Biden administration where, I mean, we can joke about it, but it's not funny, where there's no one in charge, where the president is not competent to manage complicated international affairs. There's a great risk caused by that vacuum of war, possibly world, of war all over the country. And we know the places where the current hotspots are. The Middle East, no surprise, the current problems between Israel and Gaza and Hamas. And you see it, it's not just in the Middle East. It's in Seattle. I mean, it's here, these problems. And of course, in the Ukraine, where, you know, our colleague, Joel McIntyre, a Marine who's on active duty now, is in Europe right now, trying to help defuse that situation in Ukraine. And there are others. The situation in the China Sea, involving China trying to assert its control over areas currently controlled by Taiwan and in some cases by Japan. That's another place where Biden's incompetence is creating risk of a hot war. And Joe Kent has been there. Joe Kent knows what those situations look like when they go wrong, and he knows how to avoid sending our kids into harm's way in those places. So Joe Kent is really uniquely qualified to go to Congress and do well for the people of Southwest Washington. You can't do better than that, Joe. Take it away.
All right. Thank you guys so much for being here. This is an awesome crowd. Thank you guys for being out here a day after the 4th of July, engaged and ready to take our country back. Thank you so much to our hosts, James and Amber. I really appreciate you guys opening up this venue. This is awesome. Anytime we get a crowd of, like, I think more than 5 or 10 in Pacific County, I consider it a major win, and this is a huge crowd. So I just can't say thank you guys enough. You guys know what the stakes are. Our country is being destroyed right now. You all witnessed that disaster of a debate between Biden and Trump. And so what you're going to see, it's actually already happening. What you're going to see is you're going to see every single Democrat attempt to peg all the failures that are destroying our country right now on Joe Biden. They pushed out Joe Biden to take all the heat. He's completely and totally mentally gone. It's actually pretty tragic when you look at it. But what they're trying to do now, because they can't hide from their disastrous policies, is they're trying to all say, oh, it's Joe Biden. Less than 24 hours after that debate, Marie Perez was on a Portland-based news channel. I don't know if you guys get it out here, but saying like, hey, I think Trump's probably going to win, and that's probably going to be okay. Really trying to distance herself from the policies that she has directly voted for and supported. So that's exactly it. So every single failing that we're seeing right now is destroying the country. Marie Perez and every single Democrat at the federal level and at the state level have voted for and supported. The trick they're trying to pull right now is they're trying to say, well, that's just because of Biden, and maybe we'll swap him out, or maybe we'll stand up to Biden. Marie also released an ad recently saying, like, I'm going to stand up to Joe Biden for his border policy. Although Marie Perez voted to leave the border wide open, one of the first votes she took in Congress well over a year ago, after we had already had a disaster on our border for over 2 years. We had already had over 100,000 American citizens killed by fentanyl, millions of illegal immigrants in our country. We have no idea who they are. Perez votes to leave the border wide open, and then she comes back to the district, has the audacity to say, well, no one stays awake at night worrying about the southern border, as we have people overdosing and dying from fentanyl. Exactly. So now she's playing this bait and switch game, saying, well, now I'm standing up to Biden. The question is, standing up for Biden for what? The exact same policies that you voted for. It's the exact same thing with inflation. They're all trying to distance themselves from Bidenomics after voting for Bidenomics. In her short time in Congress, Marie Perez has voted for nearly $4 trillion in new spending. Now, the vast majority of that new spending, it's just new money printing, and that's what's driving inflation. That's why your paycheck doesn't go as far as it did just a couple of years ago. But the vast majority of that new spending, it's going to special interest groups. It's going to the military industrial complex. It's not going to fix your roads. It's not going to fix our bridges. It's not going to benefit the American people. It's benefiting Marie Perez and the Democrat apparatus's donors. That's all these people care about. And now they think they can just come back to the district and lie about it. So big question that I get asked quite a bit is, hey, what's the difference between 2022 when Perez beat me by less than a percentage point and right now? How are we going to win this time? And we've got a couple different things working out in our favor right now, and the polling actually reflects this. So first and foremost, we don't have a brutal Republican primary. You guys all know the history. I took down a 12-year incumbent backed by the full weight of the Republican establishment, had $14 million spent against me, and we still prevailed. Unfortunately, bloody, nasty primaries like that present a wide opening for the Democrats to capitalize on our division. There's a huge lesson to be learned there. Sometimes we have to do primaries. We have to primary people. We have to hold them accountable. But at the end of it, we have to have Republican unity. Unfortunately, because we have such a short time between the end of our primary and the beginning of the general election season, we really didn't have time to unify the Republican Party. We don't have that issue this time. I'm endorsed by every single county in the 3rd District. I'm endorsed by the state party. We've got a lot of unity this time, and we are solely focused on taking down Marie Perez and holding her accountable for her record. The second major factor, and I've already kind of hit on this, it's Marie Perez's record. When she ran against me in 2022, she could say whatever she wanted to because she didn't have a record. She really put front and center that, hey, she's a lumberjack one day, she's a mechanic the next day. It was like, she'd go to the casting room and pick out a new costume, and that's the character that she would play. And it made good TV ads and all that. But this time, she's trying to do the same thing. She's got 2 years worth of a voting record that we're going to hold her accountable for. I just hit the high points. If you go to my website, you go to joekentforcongress.com, scroll through, you can donate some money, that's great, but scroll down and you'll see a little yellow box. It says, learn the truth about Marie Perez. Go on there, and you don't have to take my word for it. We have links by topic to every single vote that she has taken that she's currently lying about. Do me a favor and send that out to all your friends that are here in the district that might be on the fence and say, hey, I don't know about Republicans. I don't know about this Kent guy. But if they're common sense people, when they see her voting record, they see the out of control inflationary spending, they see the wide open southern borders, they see the fact that she voted to put biological men into your daughter's dressing rooms. When they see that, that is a bridge too far for 90% of the people in this country. So please, we're going to expose her record. I need your help to do it, but that's going to be a core way that we're going to take her down. The third way that we're going to get after Marie Perez and flip this seat is that we're going to have a much bigger turnout this year with the Republican presidential cycle, with the strong Republican president like Trump at the top of the ticket. Unfortunately, and this is something we got to fix as a party, Republicans have a very big dip during midterm years. We had about 60,000 Republicans who voted for Trump in 16 and in 20 who didn't cast a ballot at all in 2022. They didn't participate. We're not leaving that to chance. We are getting out there and we're going to be chasing ballots and ballot harvesting. So I'm encouraging every single one of you, absolutely. I'm encouraging every single one of you, when you guys get your ballots and actually come mid-month, probably around the 15th or the 16th, the ballots for the primary are going to get mailed out. As soon as you get your ballot, please do us a favor, vote and turn it in. Whether you feel comfortable putting it in a drop box or you want to drive down to the county auditor's office, just vote as soon as you possibly can, because that's going to let us go after the people who still haven't voted yet. So as soon as you vote, we can stop spending resources. We can stop calling you, stop sending activists to your door, and we can start chasing down some of these other folks who don't vote as frequently. And please encourage all your friends to do the same thing. So those are the major factors we have working out in our favor. And just recently, we've had two different polls that have me up from Marie Perez. So the first poll that came out was from the Northwest Progressive Institute. Not a fan of Joe Kent, really. But they have me up in a head-to-head race against Marie Perez by 1 point. There's still about, I think, close to 20% of the people they polled were undecided, which is a very good sign for us. And then we had Republican polling that came out from Signal, which is an RNC-affiliated polling organization. And they have me up by about 3 points against Marie Perez, advancing through the primary. And there's on the generic ballot of just Republican versus Democrat, who people thought were going to be better suited to take control of the border, to fix the economy. Republicans are up by like 10 to 15 points. Trump's already polling 7% higher in this district than Biden is. So we have a lot of factors going my side. So whenever people say, hey, you know, our votes don't matter, and they have all this despair from all the bad news and the propaganda we're constantly fed, tell them that right there. We're winning, and we're going to win by doing the one thing that Republicans can do that Democrats can't do. We can talk about the issues. We can talk about how we're going to stop spinning us into oblivion. We're going to stop spending billions and trillions of dollars on foreign wars. We're actually going to prioritize securing our own border and restoring law and order. We're going to protect kids, make sure that no one gets in between a parent and their child, and we're going to get rid of all this nonsense that's being taught in schools. We can talk about that, the Democrats can't. In order to avoid talking about issues, all you're going to hear Democrats, especially Marie Perez, do is call names, say that we're weirdos, that we're racist, every name of the book. They're just going to continue. They're going to keep up that nonsense. But then they're also going to do these little performative stunts where they say, hey, I'm out here today, and all I care about is loggers, or all I care about is fishermen. But if you look at the voting records of these people, it's complete and total lies. Like Perez does this whole shtick where she's talking about the trades and the working people. She has voted against working class Americans with every single vote that she has taken in Congress. She wants Washington, D.C. bureaucrats in charge of our fishing season, in charge of our waterways, in charge of our forests, completely voting against the people of this district. So talking about the issues, ballot harvesting, that's how we're going to win in 2024. So, yeah. Well, with that, I'm ready to do some Q&A. I think one of the most important